Hola, and welcome back to the Life Podcast, where we learn, inspire, flourish, and evolve together on the journey to our best, most authentic selves. I'm your host, Dr. C, and today represents a major milestone. This is our season finale. If you are new here or you've been with us since episode 1, I want you to take a deep breath because we have traveled a long way together. We have journeyed from the cocoa fields of mindfulness to the boardrooms of corporate America. We've explored the biology of loneliness, the science of deep sleep, and the courage required to simply show up for ourselves. But today, I want to start with a question. How often do you feel like you're playing a game of Whac-A-Mole with your life? You know the game. You fix your sleep schedule, but your social life falls apart. You finally get that promotion at work, but your physical health takes a backseat. You save money, but you feel spiritually empty. It could be exhausting. Today, we are stopping the game. In this finale, we are taking the wisdom from the last 20 episodes, the stories, the science, the tears, the laughter, and we are synthesizing them into one cohesive roadmap for your holistic wellness. We're going to take a look at how these pieces fit together to create harmony, not just a checklist of choices. So let's start with the foundation. If I had to boil down every expert interview, every solo episode, and every piece of research we discussed this season into one simple super habit, it would be this: the power of the pause. We often think of wellness requiring more gym time, more meetings, more chaos. But our guest taught us that wellness actually requires more stopping. Let's look at the data we've uncovered this season. First, we learned about intellectual wellness from Dr. Jerry Washington. He taught us about epistemic responsibility, the idea that we are responsible for the information we absorb, process, and share. His prescription was a pause. He taught us to stop for 90 seconds before sharing information online to check our own emotions and to verify the source. Is what I'm sharing real? That pause is the difference between spreading chaos and spreading clarity. Then we moved to emotional wellness with Nina Shevin-Stepherson. She described anxiety as a storm and taught us that mindfulness isn't about fixing the storm. It's about being the observer in the bubble. So how do we get there? We pause. We use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique to engage our senses. We stop the spiral by coming back to the present. And who could forget Melissa Mueller Douglas? She didn't tell us to run a marathon. She told us to eat chocolate, but do it mindfully. She taught us that chocolate can be an anchor. And by pausing to hear the wrapper crinkle, feel the texture of the chocolate, we snap our brains out of autopilot. So what we're learning today is that integration requires a pause. You cannot integrate your life if you are running 100 miles per hour. The biggest misconception people have is resting or pausing is lazy. But as we discussed in our episodes on permission, rest is not laziness. It is cellular repair and neurological maintenance. If we don't take time for our wellness, you've heard me say this before, we will be forced to take time for our illness. Theory is great, but stories are what change us. I want to take a moment to honor the voices that have shaped this season. We haven't just talked about wellness, we've seen it lived out in messy, beautiful ways. I think about Ronika Burns-Sharp, the founder of You Are Beautifully Made. She's a CEO, a visionary, a mother that told her story about navigating her child's mental health crisis. It would be so easy for her to burn out, but she inspired us by revealing her secret weapon: solo trips. She takes trips to places like Thailand alone to relearn herself. She taught us that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And sometimes you have to fly halfway across the world to refill it. Then I think about Luis Burgos. After a massive 32-year career leading city departments, he faced the void of retirement. But he didn't stop. He pivoted. He showed us that purpose doesn't retire. He found wellness, not in slowing down, but in curating his time, finding joy in his garden, his casita, and his service on boards. He taught us that we have agency over our calendar, no matter what season of our life we are in. And I have to talk about the brotherhood that Sean, Joe, and Shay have cultivated for over 35 years. 35 years of friendship. In a world where men are often told to be stoic, they showed us the power of vulnerability, taught us the concept of risk. He said, you have to risk something if you want something in return. He risks rejection to check in on his brothers. He taught us that laughter is a love language and that true accountability comes from a place of deep love, not judgment. And finally, Dr. Keisha Carter, she brought the fire regarding occupational wellness. She reminded us that psychological safety is not a perk. It's a biological requirement for our brains to function at its optimal level. She challenged us to stop being just allies and start being accomplices, to stand in front of the marginalized, not just beside them. These aren't just interviews. These are blueprints. Each of these guests found agency. They chose to pause, chose to risk, and chose to serve. So let's just pause and take a collective breath here. We've learned that the super habit of this season is the pause, whether it's for chocolate, for fact checking, or for breathing. We've been inspired by real people like Ronika, Luis, and the Alpha Brothers, who have found resilience by integrating their wellness into their daily lives. When we come back, we're going to pivot into the future. I'm going to share the core strategy of how you can implement this. Welcome back. So we've talked about the what and the who. Now let's talk about the how. How do we flourish in the face of burnout? The strategy is integration. We tend to fragment our lives. We have a work self and a home self and a social self. But wellness happens when all those selves meet. Here is your practical step for this week. I want you to try the 2-directional check-in. The first direction, inward. Let's use the tool Dr. Washington gave us. Before we react to anything this week, an email, a text, a news headline, take a 90-second pause. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Is this fact or is it emotion? Outward. Use the tool the Alpha Brothers gave us. Take a risk. Identify one person in your life you haven't been authentic with. Send them a text today. It doesn't have to be deep. Just say, thinking of you, or I value you, looking forward to connecting soon. The obstacle here is going to be guilt. You will feel guilty for pausing. You will feel guilty for taking time for yourself. I want you to use the reframe we learned in the permission episode. When you rest, you're not doing nothing. You are engaging in a neurological maintenance. You are cleaning the cognitive sludge from your brain so you can be a better leader, parent, and friend. So as we close out this chapter, as we close out 2025, let's look at the long game. Evolution is not about staying the same. It's about growing into the next version of your best self. And to practice what I preach, I have to model that evolution. I need to rest. I need to practice the permission I spoke about. So here's the news. The live podcast will be taking a much needed self-care break. Me and my husband are headed to Puerto Rico to unwind, to relax, to rest, and to recharge. We're going to be pausing our operations from December 22nd to January 2nd. I'm going to unplug, I'm going to enjoy my family, and I'm going to let my lymphatic system wash away the stress of the year. But we are returning on January, exciting new experts from around the world, doctors, brain coaches, hypnotists, financial planners, spiritual leaders, who are ready to share actionable wisdom to help you build a life that feels good to live in. This is going to be a masterclass in living well. I am thrilled to also announce the 2026 Wellness Series, the Life Blueprint. You can expect 1 month, 1 dimension, and total transformation. We are no longer going to try to fix everything at once. Instead, we're dedicating 1 full month to 1 specific dimension of wellness. So by the end of the month, this is going to be about sustained integration. I don't want you to just try these strategies. I want you to become them. So we will wrap up with a life blueprint for that specific dimension. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for trusting me with your time this season. Thank you for downloading, for listening, and for sharing our episodes with your friends. We have built a toolkit together. We know that sleep is a 7 to 9 hour non-negotiable. We know that diverse teams are safer teams. We now know that we are beautifully made. Now, I'm asking you to do one thing during this break. Rest. Do not try to overhaul your life during the holidays. Enjoy the pause. Because when we get back on January 5th, we have work to do. So prioritize yourself today. And remember, you are worthy of care. Until next time, and until 2026, keep on learning, stay inspired, continue to flourish, and never stop evolving. I'm your host, Dr. C, and this is the Life Podcast. Happy New Year!